Welcome to Girl Talk with your host, Melissa Ann. Girl Talk is that show which discusses the real issues Black women face being a mom, a dad, a wife, a girlfriend, a sister, a co-worker, a therapist, or whatever hat Black women wear on any particular day. Why? Because Black women are just dope. Without further ado, here is your host, Melissa Ann.
Welcome to Girl Talk with the Boys. Our edition of giving you some knowledge. We dropping knowledge on this daggone podcast with the boys. Without further ado, let's introduce the boys. Girl Talk.
I keep it simple. I just go by the name Michael.
All right.
Rasbo. That's what they call me.
It's your boy. I'm a repeat offender. Kai Carr, a.k.a. K Diddy, a.k.a. Kai. Back on Girl Talk with the boys, baby. Let's get it.
All right, we got an action-packed night. But before we kick it off, what I want to do is ask, first of all, how your week was or is getting started. And what's one word that you guys would use to explain your week thus far?
My week is going well. I just got back from visiting my mother. Got to spend some time with her, so that was cool. And
it is.
So I guess in a word, tranquil would be my week so far.
Oh, that's a pretty nice word. I like that word. That's pretty dope. Tranquil. Michael?
Well, my week wasn't tranquil. I've actually had some busy weeks lately with work, but this is a little more toned down, even though I have some busy events coming up this week for work. But it feels manageable. I'll call it that. It's a manageable.
Mm-hmm. Tranquil and manageable.
I don't know if these brothers being honest. I'm burnt the hell out.
I would echo that.
I'm burnt the hell out, man. It's like Groundhog Day over here. Everything happens over here. My house is the bar. My house is the office. My house is the movie theater. My house is the club. My house is the restaurant. And I'm like, it's the gym. It's everything. And I'm like, I'm tired of doing everything at home now. 2 years in the pandemic, has a brother crispy, fried, extra crispy, burnt out. I'm managing through it, but the one word for me is burnout.
Yeah, I think it's probably catching up to you.
So what would you want to do? What's the first thing you want to do when you feel safe?
Get out this damn house for extended periods of time. Back in the gym. There's a lot of stuff that's changed, man. I was on it at the gym prior to the pandemic. You know, every morning up at 5:30 at the gym by 5:45, 6, get my 2-hour workout in, hit Starbucks. I had a routine. And that routine has completely changed. And it's funny, I was texting with one of my homegirls today, and she was talking about her sleep patterns being off. And she asked me, what do you think it is? And I'm like, shit, that could be anything. But I know one thing's for sure, this pandemic is having a subconscious impact on our conscious. Mm-hmm. And it's impacting all areas of our lives.
It is.
Whether or not people want to admit it or not, that's a different story, but it is having an impact.
I think we talked about, you really don't necessarily have a connection with people. I don't know how you guys feel. Like, you can't go in the office. So if you're a newbie on anyone's team, or you have people that report to you, or you have teammates, it's almost like you're at each other's throats, because you don't necessarily you've never had the connection with them. You can't give them a hug. You can't really get to know them because it's all business all the time. Do you guys feel like that?
Yeah, I do. I will say, as of 2022, we are interacting more with our customers. Tomorrow will be my first time in our office, actually. So I'll be presenting to a number of customers tomorrow. I know we're not out of the pandemic yet, but things are starting to change a little bit. Whether it should change or not, I don't know. I'm not getting in any politics about that, or any more about the health crisis about it.
Yeah.
But we're starting to make those changes, and it's really based on the comfort level of the customer, and if they're demanding us to come on site, we have the option to say no, we don't want to go. But I do think the fact that we've been alone for so long, I mean, a lot of us are just like, hey, get out of the house.
Did y'all see
Okay.
that Instagram tweet by Keisha Lance Bottoms? How two black, very well-to-do men committed suicide here in Atlanta. And she said it was two black men. And, my thing was, in this country, we put too much of a separation between healthcare and mental health.
Yeah.
And it should not be separate. I mean, my mind is still part of my freaking body. So why
Right.
isn't mental health part of healthcare?
Who's gonna pay for it?
I mean, the insurance companies are giving it to us in the back, or as it is.
Out of pocket, right? There's
It'd be full
there's
price.
things you can do. It just, how much are you willing to sacrifice for your mental health? If it's, some places are pretty expensive. You probably can't afford it. But some places there's good therapists out there that aren't as expensive that will
Right.
give you the necessary treatment that you need, or coaching, or openness that you need. So an outlet, really.
Melissa, though, what I'm hearing though is, why aren't things the way that Kai described them? Like, why isn't that part of overall healthcare? Why is not mental health a part of healthcare? And what I'm saying, what I think, maybe I kind of jumped the gun because I have a particular bone to pick with the way things are, but I think we neglect mental health because it's expensive. There's a lot of people that require mental health services, and those people are generally on the streets, homeless right now. So overarchingly, I believe that's the problem, is because we don't want to pay for it.
I believe that. I believe we don't want to pay for it, but I also believe it ties back to money, right? Like, if you are sick and you're stressed, what does it do? It causes you to have other conditions. So that's more money in the doctor's pocket, insurance company's pocket. You got to pay for that insurance to get well. So I think it's a little deeper than that. I also think it's kind of like related to cancer. Why isn't there a cure for cancer?
Oh, I think the bigger question is, why isn't the cure for cancer released? Because I think it's out there personally.
Oh, definitely.
Without a doubt, man. Look, we went to the damn moon and back, and we got private sector people, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, putting rockets in space. You mean to tell me we don't have the cure to these diseases? Come on, son. They're working on nanotechnology right now, where they can inject nanites into your body to cure diseases.
Cancer, I think personally, I kind of when y'all were first talking, I was like, y'all are extreme with y'all opinions. I didn't realize y'all were so extreme with them. But I think we do have the cure for cancer. I think it really is rooted in diet. Like your diets, what you put into your body, it cures your body. Cancer is a natural development of deteriorating cells. So I could buy that just eating the right foods.
So how do you know? All right, let's just say in your mind, you went to the Whole Foods or Wegmans, wherever you shop, and you quote unquote bought the right foods. How do you know that it's right?
You don't.
Exactly.
There's so many
Exactly.
there's so many opinions out there, man. It's like trial and error. It's like you have to be really in touch with your body and just being open to eating different things and seeing what works out for you, trying different diets out, getting insight and just figuring out what works for you.
I almost feel like,
That's
though,
a path.
if it
That's
were
an
that
individual
easy,
thing.
everybody would be doing
It
it.
ain't
Doing
easy.
it.
It ain't easy. It ain't easy.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Pimping
though.
ain't easy.
It's simple though.
But I just think that's not the end all be all. Like, for me, I was a cancer survivor, but I had to take in a medication that the side effect was cancer. It was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But being young, I ignored the side effects of that, and then I got the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it's not necessarily diet. I'm sure diet played apart because whatever area was weak, right? The cancer probably found its way in. But I think there are plenty of nuances that we could look at from a cancer perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And life is complex, but I mean, you rebutted mine, but we there were two other opinions offered on cancer.
Oh no, you right in front of me, so you got it right.
She was like,
I agree with you. Like everything is about diet. Health is about diet. I think our food, the stuff they put in our food, I think the deodorants, all of that stuff is a part. The after effect is the diseases that we get. I totally agree with you. But I think also cancer is worth a lot of money. When I had cancer, I had to go to so many doctors. You had to go to the radiologist. I went to the radiologist to get radiation for 30 days straight. Somebody getting paid. I had to do chemo, which was once a month for 8 hours per session.
8 hours?
damn,
Per session.
shit.
And when I went to get chemo, I mean, that room was lit like it was like an assembly line of, chairs lined up of people getting it.
And
Really?
think about the economics of that. The building, the real estate, the electronics, the power. Everyone is making money off of this shit.
No, that equipment is expensive.
There's too much money in it for a cure to be released. So I do agree with you, Rasbo. We need to think about what we're putting into our bodies.
That's the thing that we can control. I mean,
Yeah,
we
for
could
sure.
we could look at all kinds of conspiracy theories if we want, but I mean, what we can control is best. Diet and exercise. That's the best we can do. And past that, that's in God's hands. Whatever happens,
Hey, I'm going to switch up the gears then right here. I was reading an article and I saw where Mary J. Blige had to go back on tour because she couldn't afford to pay her rent because she's paying her husband alimony.
That's good news for
I think
us,
that's
right?
jacked up. Huh?
Ain't that good news for those of us who haven't seen her live yet?
Oh man, that's stupid. You dumb man.
Talk about not having any empathy.
Oh my
That was like zero empathy for Mary J. Blige.
I
Oh
got
my
all
God,
the
that
empathy
was
from
funny as hell,
funny.
dude. That was funny. That was funny, man. That was right on cue.
This is what I think. The first thing is I don't necessarily think I don't think it's cool for her to be paying her ex-husband's alimony. I don't think that's cool at all. But she is wealthy, so I have to wonder. I see you're making that face, Melissa, but I'm just curious. I'm curious how much he's taken, and number two, how much is her rent that she can't pay her rent with?
It don't matter. It's the principality.
Oh,
But, I mean, hey, hold on. I want to say something else, Kai.
Now it comes out. It's the principle
Listen.
of the thing. Just because she's Mary J. Blige.
But that's the same complaint men say about having to pay like stuff like that because it sometimes can be so ridiculous that it can just handicap a man. It could straight up disable him. So I mean, I know the
That's
not
serious.
personally. I don't know, but I mean, we all know someone who's either is dealing with that or has dealt with that, and the judicial system may look at men like
You the
that's just-
provider.
yeah, but he got to live his life too.
Times have changed, though, Melissa.
And so I want to add to that too.
You can get your ass out there and get on concert on court
even-
tour too.
even if there isn't a prenup, I mean, I think there's got to be some kind of basis of how much was contributed to the success of someone to be able to just come in with whatever you were making before, and now you you're balling out of control just because y'all were married and you're just getting half of somebody else's income. I don't necessarily think that's right, whether you're
You
male or
heard Eddie
female.
Murphy. Eddie Murphy said half, Eddie. That's how it's supposed to work. The man.
Yeah, I
Half
understand
Eddie.
children need to be taken care of, but
there's a construct for that called prenup.
I do believe strongly in prenups, especially now if we didn't have nothing when we got together and we built some stuff, okay. But
That's different.
if you're coming into my life or I'm coming into your life, because I surely wouldn't have a problem signing a prenup. If I met someone who was very well to do before I got there, I don't necessarily deserve anything that she's built. If things didn't work out, because it didn't work out, and I certainly, I'm not evil enough to try to take anybody's anything that was there before I got there. Now, if whatever businesses or stuff that has taken place, and I've shared some ideas and she's ran with it and stuff like that, maybe, but I wouldn't be out to get someone financially. That would.
So if you saying like you were married to Mary J. Blige, I'm just gonna use Mary J. Blige. If you was married to Mary J. Blige, none of you would take her money if you got divorced, and there was no prenup.
I think
Rasbo was like, F that, yes.
I think I do. I think I do. Number one, I ain't going out of control.
Because
I'm trying to retire.
You know what it is. I think what happens is people answer this question like based off of principle, like on principle. Nah, I ain't taking her money like that. Nah, I ain't just gonna take her money.
That's true.
But
That's fair.
if the environment is such that I've grown accustomed to a certain type of lifestyle that is provided by being in her orbit, I might feel some type of way if I'm kicked too far out of that orbit, right? So
why not?
I may very well feel entitled to a little something just to be a little bit closer into that orbit. And which I think what happens is that gets carried way too far, whereas people getting like $200 million a year is crazy.
What the Bible say? The Bible say, "Naked I came in, naked I go out."
This is what I think.
We're not talking about the Bible, though. We're talking about the law.
Listen, if I'm with someone that is doing that well, and I haven't figured out how to bring and contribute just as much in that relationship with business ideas and stuff, that's my fault. Because I believe strongly that when you surround yourself with people like that who are doing that well, you have got to pick up something. And I'm sure while in that relationship, if her husband had some pretty good ideas, she probably would have financed them while they were together.
Well, he was. I mean, she was. So he wasn't like, he was her manager, all kinds of stuff. Like he was doing stuff on the side, and still took her money. So was he an opportunist to begin with?
Probably so.
I mean, because now I'm literally I'm not talking about having your own wife as a client.
They were married.
Because if your wife as a client, if things don't work out and she's no longer your client, then I mean you're not going to do as well if that's your bread and butter right there. So that's bound to be a disaster. But if you're with someone and if I'm with someone that has all these business ideas and she has enough disposable income to kind of try things, because basically people who have businesses, they get to that point where they have multiple businesses. They get to that point where they could be smart about their ideas. They also could be they can afford to take a loss if things don't work out. And if
like
you're
Shaq's ex-wife.
Probably, and I don't know anything about these celebrities.
See, I don't know if I would even get married if I was, NBA, NFL. I mean, shit, me and Mike tried to become damn singers and shit. I don't know if I would, be able to get married.
It sounds like both of y'all are talking about individual circumstances that you can relate to. Like, you really never know what the actual circumstances are going to be in a situation like that. So you can't blanket say, nah, I ain't going to do it, because people do that all the time. I'm not going to throw a specific gender out there,
but I've been in that situation.
People do that all the time, and then when it happens,
I've been in a situation where my ex-wife had 6 figures in the bank and I didn't touch it. and I had the right to go after it. And so, like my man Michael said, it's if you're a man of character and principle, you won't do that shit. Period. And you got two black men on this podcast, Kai Carr and Michael, who will not do that. And I've been there. Now it ain't 200 million, but I mean, shit. I mean, name black people who. How many black people you know got six figures in savings?
But if you got $0, man, they got 200 million. You got $0. They gonna throw you out in the street, and you ain't gonna be asked for $1.
If you're with someone and they're worth 200 million, I mean, goodness, you couldn't take advantage of that situation. At least make yourself worth 500,000. Seriously,
brother.
Right.
I feel
Right.
you.
That's the
I feel,
problem.
What
I
if
feel where
they?
you're
But
coming
you still
from.
are. You still at the will of that person, right? Because if I have 200 million, does it mean you have 200 million?
in marriage, I mean, people like to say that, but I don't. Again, I don't have. I mean, I'm doing better today, but when I got out of the military, I met a lot of successful women who were doing a lot better than me. And some of them, or most of them, have encouraged me to do better and stuff like that. I didn't feel like, I mean, they didn't make me feel less than, and I know I wasn't married to them, but, you know, being anyone I was in a relationship, they would help out and stuff like that. But I at least had the mind to be curious, how'd you get there?
Mm-hmm.
How'd
But that's
you-
what
how'd you get there?
black women will do that. But see, Mike, you're a good dude though. That's the difference. So a
Appreciate
woman's
it.
going to
You're a good
invest
dude,
that.
bro. You
Well,
good
we
dude
know
too,
this.
man.
Look, folks out there in podcast land. You know, we ain't three random black men. These three brothers plus Roosevelt. We got at least 30 plus years of friendship, maybe 50. And if you add Melissa into the mix, we probably got 60 years of friendship here. So I know these dudes. I know their life. I know what they've been through. I know their ups, their downs, their peaks, their valleys. So you're a good dude, Mike. So a woman who might be doing better than you is going to invest that in you because they see the character. And that's what we're talking about here. Being a man of principles and character. A man of principles and character won't do that shit.
So that is one fear I have. You know, right now I don't see marriage again in the future. I'm not there. But that is one of the things that I would have to mentally deal with. Like what kind of, you know, people, because, you know, there are a lot of people with motives when they meet you, especially if they see that you're doing well. So I wouldn't want to deal with someone who is capable of trying to take advantage of a situation for themselves. And like you said, there are plenty of people like that. After you've been there for a while, you start to see other sides come out. But if a person isn't figuring out how to make the best of the situation and them to help come on top, if they're not contributing to the relationship or marriage, what are we together for? If like that, if I'm taking care of you and all you want to do is just, you know, you just want to ride along.
But we don't know remember, there's always two sides to every story.
Yeah.
So we don't know what Mary J did in that how she treated him or whatever. But if we just want to look at it just based on principles, God made me first and put me in the garden. And then he said it's not good for man to be alone. And then he made Eve.
Fair enough. Amen.
All right.
Amen. Exactly, and that's where I'm at with it. We don't know the circumstances.
Yeah, we don't know.
We can't
We don't know.
blanket just say what it is. We could say off of principle, off bucks, what we would do, but
Yeah.
as far as that man's situation, that might be right.
I wanna our next conversation, I wanna dig into what Mike said. Not today, because it would take up another 30, 40 minutes. But what Mike said was whether we're in a relationship or a marriage, we have to be driving towards something, right? So we're building together. But if I know you, Mike, aren't going to marry me, I'm putting myself at risk. So let's talk about that next time. Let's put a pin there. But what we were supposed to talk about is, what is your love language? Did you guys take the quiz?
Yeah, I
did.
took mine twice.
All right. What's your love language? I'll start with you, Michael.
Mine has been physical touch forever. So I took it again today. That was probably, honestly, that's probably the 25th time I've taken that test. And
You
physical
love to be
touch.
touched, huh? You love to touch, huh? Okay.
Touch.
So let me say this too. This guy, man.
Lay your hands on me, Jesus.
But I'm like that but I'm like that with a lot of things. So I mean, it could be definitely if I'm with a young lady that I'm feeling, I might, kind of get close to her and rub my shoulder against hers. I might flirt with her a little bit, and flirting will be physical. I might actually touch her arm, touch her hand, and stuff like that. But I'm also like that, man. Even when I see my homeboys, when I see you guys, first thing I do is give you guys a dap and a hug. That's
sure.
me. When I'm out shopping for clothes or furniture or looking for things for my new home, it could be a rug. I'm really touchy when I'm looking for what I'm deciding on. It's funny,
Do you say what is that, velvet?
yeah, right. What is that, velvet? But no, I mean, like when I see a soft rug or a rug that I assume could be soft, I want to feel how soft it is. If I see a nice suit, the type of fabric it is, I'm curious about how.
That's
how it feels.
interesting.
But so it goes well beyond just I think when we initially think about physical touch, we think about the sexual side of it, and certainly I can go there, but it kind of rears itself with anything, because on top of that, if I'm with a woman and I'm interested in, I won't touch her.
But what if she doesn't want you to touch her?
I mean, I kind of go off of the body language and stuff too. I mean, I just don't be reaching out touching chicks like that. It's not. I don't do that at all. Right.
No, I mean, if you're dating someone and maybe a month goes by, and you're starting to touch her physically, and she moves away, what do you do then?
Well, I don't know why we were going out for a whole month. If you don't want me touching you, that's kind of weird. A month, and you're backing away when I touch you. We got bigger problems.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I think problems.
But I think, come on, man. A woman, if you're going out for 30 days and the woman's still backing up, you would have seen some signs before 30 days. Come on.
Why are you going out with me? You must be going out with me just to get a meal. If I can't,
right?
Because women will touch you. Women will touch your hand. Women do stuff like that when they like you too. So I mean,
it's us that won't do that kind of stuff because we're not reared that way.
If I hadn't figured that out probably by the second date, then we ain't going to third.
Something wrong with you.
Well, the second date is a little forward. You start touching people's legs and arms.
I'm not rubbing her legs.
No.
It just could be me grabbing her hand.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's not even that, Mike. I mean, you know if a woman is interested in you when you first meet her. And me and Mike talk about this all the time. We want to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that a woman is interested. Otherwise, there's no point in even investing in that. And Melissa, we were on, during the pandemic, we were on our little stock thing. You would send me stock shit. I send you. We're not going to invest in anything that ain't going to yield no returns. Period. So for me, ladies out there, if you're interested in the guy, stop doing this whole, oh, you can't let him know. No, we're grown. If you're interested in a man, let him know. Fellas, if you're interested in a woman, let her know. Stop playing these games. I know
that's right.
Stop playing these games,
playing
man.
the games.
Yeah, we too old for this shit, man. Let them know. Let me know. If I meet you out in a spot and you're not interested, I want to know that night so I can keep it moving. Because my feelings don't get hurt like that, especially around that shit.
Around that what?
Yeah.
My feelings don't get hurt around that. Because rejection is part of life. You can't walk around in life only looking at one side of the part where you get received. And then you want to ignore rejection. That's not how life works. And we all know how sporting events work. There's a W and there's an L column. You're either a winner or you lost. There's no runner-up. at the Super Bowl, at the NBA championship, and that's just life. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but it doesn't define who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So if a woman rejects me out at a restaurant, a club, a lounge, it is what it is. That's just part of the whole cycle of reality. Rejection and acceptance is all part of it. Accepting.
I just want to add to that that when you're dating someone in the first date or second date, that's if you're not feeling somebody, that's your chance to make someone aware of that. I mean, if at
You
the
don't
very
know on
least,
the first or second date, do you?
sometimes you do. I mean,
Sometimes,
somebody.
but it's not the rule of thumb. I think you got to give it a
No,
moment.
well, yeah, but my point of saying that, the earlier you let someone know that you're not feeling them, the less of a blow it is. I mean, why wait a whole month or 2 months to say, you know what, I wasn't really feeling you.
Yeah.
How does it get that far? I mean, yeah,
Because we live in a passive aggressive, weak society. I agree with David Goggins when he says that. People are,
but
me and Melissa
You
talk about this
living
all
in
the
an
time.
opportunist society as well.
That
Like you
too.
said.
That
Yeah.
too. Yeah. So my love language, Melissa Ann, podcast host, is words of affirmation.
Wow, really?
Yes. And I took the podcast. I mean, I didn't take the podcast. I took the assessment years ago, and then I took the assessment after I got divorced to see if things shifted. Because shit impacts you. That's just life.
Mhm.
Shit impacts us, right? And I wonder if my life growing up into the man I am today has impacted my love languages outside of relationships. Y'all
Was the
follow?
love
Y'all,
language the same though?
acts of service and words of affirmation, I think, flipped
They're like a
from,
close, yeah.
yeah, 8 and 7. And I think
Mhm.
one became 8 and the other one became 7.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
I
is it?
didn't look at the numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they give you scores. They give you
yeah.
scores, and they tell you just because like my physical touch was at the top. Guess where
Mhm.
my physical touch is? At the bottom. But does that mean I don't like being touched? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that words of affirmation, acts of service, which are my top two, are just stronger for me than physical touch. I mean, if I'm dating a woman and you ain't touching me, I'm gonna have an issue with that.
Physical touch has always been my primary, and my secondary has always been a tie between words of affirmation and quality time. It's always been that way. It hasn't changed. It has
But
not
Mine was
changed.
quality time. I didn't look at the other ones. I didn't think about looking at. I know I looked at the last one was something about gifts. Like I'm
receiving
not
Yeah,
gifts.
high. Yeah,
yeah.
receiving. I'm not high on that one. It was quality time.
Why do you think that
Mhm.
is, Melissa, that you're not high on receiving gifts?
I just never. I was always taught is not. It's better to give than receive all the time. Better to give than receive. Better to give than receive. But I what talked about the last time. I wasn't raised where you're asking a man for something. My parents were older, so if my parents were alive today, they'd be in their late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched the older generation of how you take care of a man. It wasn't necessarily my father giving my mother things. It was
Yeah.
her taking care of her man. So I wasn't raised in that way to say, you got to give me X before I give you Y. I'm independent, so I could get what I want myself.
Right.
So I wonder because like my top one is words of affirmation, and I'm looking at my. That's why I keep looking up because I'm looking at my profile on the screen,
Mhm.
and words of affirmation is my top at 8 at a score of 8, and I wonder if that's because I created a story as a child about that. I'm not good enough. Is it really because of relationships and love that this is the way it is, or is it because we've developed these stories and these mantras over the years about who we are, and that's why it's the top score.
I
That's
think,
interesting.
but I think that plays a part. I think everything that we've experienced with love from
Mm.
from our parents,
Yeah.
from
Hmm.
our relationships, from our friendships, um, even even things that we've seen with other couples or role models or people from church. I think all of that has an influence on what you've learned, what you've learned about love and what you've learned to like and dislike about love. I think all of that influences us. Now, we all are all individuals, but I think out of what we see and experience, you just naturally gravitate to something. But I mean, if you didn't know anything about love, what would you know to need for?
That's pretty deep. But both of you are saying is like, how does it tie to childhood stuff? Like, it could even be childhood trauma.
Right,
You
that's what I'm
know, like,
saying.
yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
my parents did not tell me they loved me. That was, they didn't hug, they didn't tell you that, but it was because that's how I guess they were raised.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
is that tied to why I need, quality time with someone?
Right, that's what
So
I
I,
was trying to get at. I know this book is about relationship and how to quote unquote please your mate or partner.
uh
But is it? And I read the book while I listened to it on Audible, but I don't remember all of these. So maybe I need to read it, listen to it again to make
What's the
sure.
name of the book? Because I took a random test. What's the name of the book?
The five love languages.
Oh, okay.
it's a whole book on it, but I think all the tests are generally about the same, whether they're long or short, because I've taken many different type, and some can be some very long tests. I want to use an example of me, and I won't go into detail about my upbringing, but just like your experience, Melissa, you didn't really hear it from your parents. I didn't either. As a matter of fact, I still wasn't receiving love in a different way to know that I was loved. So that wasn't good. So with that said, different women that I've dated that appreciated the way I showed love because of my physical touch, or could be comments that I've said because I'm familiar with words of affirmation or wanting to spend time with them. Because of those love languages, those were things that I ended up seeking in women. And if they displayed them in the way that I needed, I'd end up being closer to them. Now, whether it was their love language or not, or they just were in tune with me and they just gave me what I needed, I became closer to them. But I remember dating one of the girlfriends I had. She had mentioned, it's kind of amazing that what you had been through growing up,
Hmm.
that you're very physical with women in a way where it's not overwhelming, but it's enough to let a woman know that you have her undivided attention.
And I told you that. Didn't I tell you that, Mike?
Yeah. You have
I
to.
always commended Mike.
I'm going to give you the flip side. Like, if you notice, like, physical touch is not on mine. But physical touch is not on mine because as a child, I'm a product of molestation. So
Oh,
I was molested from age 5 to 12.
oh man.
So if you touch me on date 1 or 2, I'm going to be the one that's like this. Like,
So
I don't
that's why
want you
you
to
asked
touch
that.
it. Yeah, I don't want you to touch me until I'm comfortable with you.
Well, I think what Kai and Mike were talking about was detecting that level of comfort being reached early on and being in tune with that.
Mhm.
I think that exchange could work either way. I mean, regardless of who you are, what you've been through in the past, if you click with somebody, you click with somebody, and if they know you feeling them and you know they feeling you, back and forth. I think that's the exchange that Mike and Kai were
Yeah.
talking about.
He is.
That's that
It's
ultimate
He,
dance.
chemistry.
Yeah,
yeah, it is. It is chemistry.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
definitely
Very
chemistry.
important. Very important.
Yes, it is definitely chemistry. But chemistry doesn't happen always in 1 or 2 days, right?
Correct.
So I think you have to know kind of your audience. It might not be that I'm turned off from you. It's just that I'm pulling from something that happened to me in the past. So I'm trying to trust you
I got
first.
you. No one's ever grown on me, so I don't know what that feels like. I'm either interested and I continue to be more and more interested in you. I've
Mm.
never I've never just thought somebody was like, we'll try it. She's cool. And then one day I'm like, boom, oh my God, I love this woman.
You might have missed out on your blessing, brother.
That's never happened. And not saying that I've cut everybody off that I've dated because that hasn't happened. I might continue to date them for a little bit, but they still have never grown on me to the part where I'm like, oh man, I'm really feeling this girl. She's a great woman. I want to keep her. That's never.
But you know, Mike, you know what? Usually I hear women use that particular where women kind of will give a man a chance to grow on them. Where men, we're mostly like, either I'm interested in you or I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was going to say that has happened to me multiple times where that person had to grow on me. Gentlemen, man, this was a good conversation. I know you guys have plenty of things to do and you could have been anywhere else but here, but I do appreciate you joining. I so enjoy these conversations every other week with you. Any final parting words before we disconnect for the evening?
I got something to say. Going back to the pandemic stuff a little bit, I do plan on going into 2022. I know we're in it now, but we're still early in the year. But I plan on being at a little more day parties, outside day parties. I plan on going to more festivals, seeing more live music, and more Sunday brunches. So so I'm gonna break free a little bit of this pandemic fatigue and kind of get out a little bit. Do some bike riding on the Beltline, enjoy some bars along the belt line. And I'm just looking forward to having a good year.
That's dope.
Yeah,
I love it. The sun will be out soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It was warm
It'll
as hell
be in the
today.
70s tomorrow. Was it?
It was warm as hell today. Yeah. My mom's went out to check the mail. My mom's went out to check the mail. She came in. She was like, "Ooh, it is hot out there."
She used to that below zero weather.
She used to that up north. So I'm gonna go back to this whole what I said earlier, Melissa, as a closing statement. Men and women out there, stop playing these games. If you feeling somebody, let them know. This whole, if I get your number, I got to wait 3 days and BS. If you're feeling them, let them know. And that goes for both men and women. Stop playing these games. We're grown ass people now. We're not in high school. We're not in college. If you're feeling somebody, let them know.
That's a word.
Yeah, I second that one. Yeah, that's good money right there.
And Rasbo, work with us.
Come on, Rasbo, work with us, man. All right, Wakanda forever snap. Okay.
Y'all are a trip, boy. I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast with Girl Talk with the boys. And we'll see you again next time. And as always, I see you because I am you.
You have just listened to the Girl Talk podcast with your host, Melissa Ann. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. Until next time, remember, I see you because I am you.